Baldur's Gate 3 has simply taken the gaming industry by storm. From other dev teams telling gaming enthusiasts not to expect this level of game moving forward, to the need for Larian Studios to build their own Horny Jail, and all the fantastic Dungeons & Dragons style CRPG gameplay people have come to expect from Larian, layered perfectly like the wedding cake you hope to share with your in-game waifu or husbando. After nearly 3 years of early access, and even longer in development, this game is called out to the gaming industry with its Brain Parasites as a wake-up call. And after hearing the call of the Absolute themselves over at Larian, the fans have come to answer. With a peak player count of 875,000 according to Steam charts, and holding an average for the last 30 days as of September 7th of 455,000 players, Larian has a hit on their hands, and are already looking to solve some of the player requests and issues that they've heard about. But you have to play the game to have such requests. So what makes this game such a big deal? Let's take a look at what you can expect in your hundreds of potential hours in Baldur's Gate 3's loop. Starting off with a bang, and as many jokes across the internet have pointed out, the longest part of Baldur's Gate 3 is the character creation. Everything about a character can be customized here, with the things that matter, like class and backgrounds, taking a backseat for many. Options for your character, from race or hybrid of a few, to gender, to even shape, girth, size, hair level, and I can't believe I'm saying this, circumcision status of their organ can be taken into account with Larian's character builder. But for those special people who don't like to be the true main character themselves, there are options for origin characters as well. Origin characters are those that would normally be party characters that you meet and bring along on your adventure, but with Baldur's Gate, they are all fully playable and can take the lead in your playthrough. The options for character customization only start with the physical though, as you can choose from one of 12 classes for your character, and from there the party only begins, no pun intended. Each class has a number of subclasses to choose from, some in the character creation and others as you level up, and in certain cases, new ones can be unlocked or opened up through gameplay situations that the player causes. There are even 11 different background options for your created character to choose from. Want to be a haughty noble? A rags to riches street urchin? A seedy criminal? A wise sage? All of these are options, and each comes with a bonus to how you interact with the world. As you put some time into the game and begin to level, new spells, options, and abilities open up to you. Spell slots and abilities are the big ones, and many of those involve combat. But spell slots may be a very different type of gameplay than many are used to. You aren't beholden to a mana pool in Baldur's Gate. Spell slots work as effective levels you use your spells at, but also the number of times you can use your spells. For instance, some spells require you to use a level 2 slot. If you're out of level 2, you can use it at a higher number as well for more damage. But you can't go lower, so it's a strategic balancing act for when to use your spells and what spells to use. There are also other types of abilities that you get as your character grows in power, from Paladin's Lay on Hands charges to Barbarian's Rage abilities. These are hugely powerful abilities that can seriously help you out, but are very limited in how often you can use them. Taking all these abilities and options you have into combat is where you will see most of their use, and probably the best topic to cover next, as you will spend a lot of time in combat throughout your playthrough. Combat in Baldur's Gate 3 can be a little complicated if you're not used to other systems like Dungeons & Dragons or CRPGs, namely like the Divinity series from Larian. The combat here is turn-based, which those of you that have played older Final Fantasy games or Pokemon games may be familiar with, but not quite as watered down as those turns. For starters, there tends to be a lot more going on visually with many more enemies than your Final Fantasies or Pokemon titles, and movement is heavily involved. We can break this down in a few simple ways. Each turn you get options called actions, reactions, and extra actions. Seems like a lot, but you don't need a PhD in game development to understand the basics. Actions are almost all of the things you can do on your turn. Spells, abilities, swinging your big old hammer, and even more options fall into the actions category. Reactions can only be done when other characters do something, usually when they try to attack you or your party. Extra actions are little things you can do at the end of your turn. Drink a health potion, cast a shield on yourself or a buff of some kind, some healing effects, just to name a few. Your ability list can get long, and there are a lot of different things that you can do on your turns, which is great for all the types of actions that you have. But what happens when someone tries to attack you? It's not as simple as a hack and slash where as long as you're in range, you hit. Nope, that would make it too easy. Instead, everything is based on dice rolls happening in the background, with numbers being used against your stats. Connecting a hit or missing, as well as your ability to do damage, heal a certain amount, and continue to concentrate on spells with lasting effects, are all part of this system called saves. When someone attempts to hit you, a save roll determines if that happens or not. The last piece of this puzzle is movement, and it's very important as it can cause reactions to happen all around you if you're not careful. Movement, positioning, and range all work together to make sure you're connecting your shots or dodging your enemies. Hiding behind walls so only certain enemies can see you is a big advantage to not getting everyone aiming directly at you. All of these effects come together to bring a deep combat system that allows for a lot of variance with player choice. Playing a rogue, you need to hide and spring for the best timed attack. Caster, probably for the best that you're not standing directly next to your enemies, and so on down the class list. The game does a great job of presenting challenge to players without nailing them down with no options. The tools are right there in your ability bar. Whether or not you see them and use them is a completely different story. The second major part of this game is going to be dialogue and gaining information by interacting with the world's different characters. Lots of different factors come into play here, from persuasion and intimidation of characters to give you what you want, using skills for perception, history, and religion to understand what people are talking about or trying to hide from you, options by class and based on your choices to give you advantage when talking to some or just demanding that your life and morality is the best option for the conversation. Similar to many people's Twitter accounts, you are the main character here, and what you say and do is seen by many. It can come back to bite you in the ass. Conversations between characters just shouting on the street can pique your interest, and you can walk right up to them and join in. From nobles complaining about peasants to religious persecution, Baldur's Gate 3 gives a lot of choice to conversations that games in similar veins, like titles by BioWare and Bethesda, don't really quite hit. Things seem to hold a bit more gravitas and have deeper interaction to voice options in Baldur's Gate than other titles as a whole. With as many characters and NPCs as Baldur's Gate has, each of them have dialogue options, some more than others, that can help or hinder your overall story progression. It doesn't feel quite like the overly repeated barks of characters from other titles with similar systems, and that is a breath of fresh air when all dialogue is voice acted. Even the narrator has different lines based on how your character is set up. There's a lot of world in Baldur's Gate 3 to cleanse of different ailments. From the start of the game on the Nautiloid ship, the options are completely up to you for where you go. Want to just rush through and save yourself? Go for it. Take your time and open every box and hit every button? Sure thing. Decide to leave your allies behind and solo run? Excellent choice. But the game having so many options can lead you astray early. Open world games have to ride a delicate balance between getting completely lost and giving up, and walking into a place you should not be based on your level. Sometimes even laying out everything in such a fashion that the game may as well be linear. Baldur's Gate gets you to ease yourself into the world, allowing whatever style the player wants, and once again, player agency and choice is a huge win for them. They have created an open world that allows you to follow whatever of those paths you want, combining parts of all playstyles to create your own adventure, which is truly at the heart of the Dungeons & Dragons experience. Use your journal to guide you to the next point of interest. Follow the diamonds on your map to your next objective, or completely ignore all of it and go where your feet take you. This isn't a new concept to many open world games, but it's done with such care that each major marker or nod isn't always just a character telling you, hey, it's 200 meters to the east, go get me the thing. And there's subtlety at play. How you get updates to quests isn't just done by interaction with characters or killing some group of monsters. Stumbling into a library can give you information on what you're looking for. Actually reading the words in the book or reading a note on a body will give you more information than just what the journal updates do. Walking just a little too closely or a little too far away from the road can completely turn you around for better or worse. Larian has done a great job with every possible path in the game being just as interesting as every other one, that you don't feel that there's a path in most scenarios. If you couldn't tell by my rambling, the best parts of the game are the parts you find on your own. Characters and companions can be found anywhere. Interesting journeys or decisions are made all the time, and not just giving you points on a cosmic scale of your morality, but you can also completely miss characters and situations in your playthroughs, and being okay with it is just as important as completing everything in many ways. It leads to different outcomes for the story, different options for next time. It is impossible to do everything in one playthrough of Baldur's Gate, and that's what makes the next one so exciting. The loot you get is dependent in many ways on your exploration as well. There are many static items hidden throughout the game that you can walk right past without noticing. Side quests for different characters that lead to the best gear in the game. Options and combinations that you wouldn't have even thought of. Some items can be lost forever, completely unobtainable. Some are meant to be fleeting, and each choice you make is completely up to you. Glutton for choice in loot is definitely a pain for the game, but sending things back to your camp, trying things with different characters or in a different way, can be very rewarding for your party and for your overall playthrough. One thing I haven't seen many people talk about is the multiplayer aspect of Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's well known that you and your friends can play through the game together with up to 4 total players, but what is the experience like? I played the entire game for over 100 hours in multiplayer, so I believe there are some keys to playing this way and some things you won't get anywhere else. There's only so much that can be baked into a game and how you interact with it. I think we're hitting some of the logical extremes with those concepts here, but opening it up to multiplayer and taking friends on this incredible ride with you is very different from playing solo. It's more to the heart of Dungeons & Dragons and the camaraderie that's involved. Loot sharing between friends, trying to make sure you aren't the golden loot god, stealing things and locking them away from other players in your chest back at camp can all be really fun and really annoying, but that's the point of the whole process. Experiencing situations together, being able to tell the story of how your friend hid a legendary weapon from you for days and only gave it to you after your sorry weapon wasn't cutting it anymore. Losing out on conversations with characters that you were not involved with, or even seeing and acting on something you didn't notice. The addition of other people into an experience like this is for celebrations and the losses, and it makes it feel more real and really brings out the best of what role-playing games have to offer. Larian could have made this game like Diablo 4 or Fallout 76, where it's always online and you're always beholden to the almighty servers to play with your friends. But they acted on what they believed was the best for the player and let you have that choice and make it for yourself. Another great point in their quest for player choice and agency. I really don't want to spend that much time on story in this review. I think that may be better for a much longer type of video. What I can say is this: the story is very, very good. It starts off with a bang, and as you explore and learn and do, it really opens up the world, even to people like me that didn't play much Dungeons & Dragons in their life. It was very quickly explained what was going on and what was at stake, while never really giving you the chance to fall off. The ties between the story of you and your companions on the Nautiloid and why you were there in the first place is left vague, but what happened to you and how those events tie you and your companions together are very, very well concocted. Each of the possible companions has story-related missions and their own events and set pieces that really let them shine as origin characters and not just archetype characters to help min-max your party. Every time you meet a new origin character, you feel like your lives are intertwined, but also that they may just turn on you. And that's just what the story has in store for you. If, and only if, you are looking for an opinion, Shadowheart is easily my favorite character and companion throughout the game. But each character has their charm and redeeming qualities as the story unfolds. If there is something that they do that you don't like, grab one of the other companions and see if their wit and personality match more with what you do like. Each character is unique, though some of them ride just a bit too closely to each other at times, to the point that some feel like funhouse mirror images of each other. But that's been maybe all you need to really enjoy the story that Larian is telling with each origin character. Look, no game is perfect. There are definitely some issues in Baldur's Gate 3 that persisted throughout all of my playthroughs. Even after a handful of patches, odd bugs and performance issues happen fairly regularly. Some issues with sound hit my playthrough partner, and graphical issues and texture issues did peek out at me every once in a while. I played the game on my high-end gaming desktop, my high-end gaming laptop, and my Steam Deck, which all had issues of their own at different times. But like any game, most of the issues experienced have been patched. The one thing I can report is that I only experienced one crash in my entire playthrough, and it was very early on. The game felt more smooth with each patch, and some of the issues brought up by the community have already been addressed by Larian, such as multiplayer characters being able to be left behind so it doesn't kill your run if your friend has to drop out for a few days for his sister's wedding, 3 hours away from you, and doesn't even come to say hi. Thanks for all the hours, V. It was a blast. Now, you can just put him in the nice little box and be on your merry way with your digital friends instead. In conclusion, Baldur's Gate 3 is far beyond what I expected to walk into with this game. I came in pretty much blind, and I really had a good time playing through everything, learning about the individual characters, learning about my favorite, Shadowheart, learning about her story and how my own story with her really tied the entire game together. There's a lot going on in this game. There's a lot of different things to be aware of and to keep track of, but once you get used to bringing together that entire process, it makes the game a lot more enjoyable. Playing with friends was a really, really good decision on my part, and I had a great time with it. So all I can say is, it's a good game.